A very good afternoon to you once again from the sports desk. Let's focus on football news. Mamelodi Sundowns are on the cusp of history this weekend as they take on Egyptian side Pyramids FC in the first leg of the CAF Champions League final at Loftus Versfeld. Miguel Cardoso's side last won the African title back in 2016, and since then their best performance in the competition has been semi-final exits at the hands of North African sides. Now this weekend they take on another North African side. The only difference is that this is the lesser-known club than the usual suspects in Wydad Casablanca or Al Ahly, who they beat in the previous rounds. Well, we are joined now by 2016 CAF Champions League winner Teko Modise to unpack this weekend's showdown. But Teko is not the only guest. We also have a special guest in the trophy, the brand new trophy that will be presented to the winner of the CAF Champions League. Teko, a very good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Talk to me, firstly, about what it means to win a trophy. I mean, we're looking at this beautiful trophy that Mamelodi Sundowns or Pyramids will win, for the first time, will be the first ones to hold this. What is it like to participate and compete for such a huge honor and such a trophy?
I mean, to participate in such a huge tournament, it's an honor on its own, because then you're participating and challenging as well the best teams in the continent. And the difficulties of getting into the final, because you're facing every team that is from different countries rather, that you'll be competing against. And normally those are teams that you don't play against week in, week out. So your preparation needs to be better, logistic in terms of traveling as well. So it becomes very, very difficult. But yet again, that's why when you win it, it becomes such an honor and a prestigious thing to do, because then you had to challenge all the best teams in the continent.
What was it like for you and that team, Pizzo, when you guys won it in 2016? I mean, I remember some of the games, Loftus scoring some great goals, a young Pesitau, very mesmerizing. What was it like for that team to win that trophy for the first time since Pirates won it, years before that?
To be honest with you, because we were knocked out before we went back to actually play, so we didn't really know much about CAF Champions League in that stage, because then we didn't have too many teams representing South Africa, or maybe getting in further. We still remember Orlando Pirates in 1995, but it wasn't something that we actually spoke about. But once Coach Peter started coaching, he spoke about he wants to win the Champions League. So when we went back, actually, because we were busy parading, we had to stop the parade, we had to go back to training.
You're parading the league championship. Yes, I remember that.
Yes, we had to stop and go back.
So the celebrations had to stop.
It had to stop. So we had to go back and actually prepare. And we told ourselves we might as well win it. But to tell you the truth, to winning it really felt like it was justified because of all the career moments that we had as individuals, all the challenges that we had as footballers. And to come back and be at the pinnacle of African football, it just really, really solidified us to where Mamelodi Sundowns was heading.
Talk to me about the importance of a mentor like Bitum in guiding a team to that. And the reason I'm asking this is you've got a Miguel Cardoso now, who's at Mamelodi Sundowns, who lost it in the final last season. So he knows what it's like to take it to the final. How important is the coach in this aspect of making sure that the players get through that mental aspect and win it?
I think the importance of the coach at this stage is to really manage the nerves and the anxiety as well. Because it's not a game that you can really focus on the tactics, because you already have prepared the team for so long. And if you look at Mamelodi Sundowns, it's been a preparation for 9 years. And for Coach Cardoso, who was in the final last season, he knows exactly what is it that he could have done better in the final for him to actually win. For Mamelodi Sundowns, it's the first time after 9 years. Then you have the players that have more quality than we had in 2016. And you look at also the trajectory that Mamelodi Sundowns has had ever since Coach Cardoso has come. It's a different team. And I'm sure there is a little bit of confidence within the team, especially playing at home. But for Coach Cardoso, he needs to be the one that actually manages those nerves. If he's exaggerating things, and I'm sure the players will actually feed off from the energy. So it's very, very important to how we react and the fixture for tomorrow.
So I guess wrapping up the league and getting things done ahead of time makes life a little bit easy now. You're focusing on one thing.
It's better that way, because even after when Sundowns won the league against Chippa, we started speaking to the players. They felt like the season just started, so they were re-energized. You can tell that the nerve of them winning the league a little bit earlier and then it was out, so that they can focus on the Champions League, because they know the importance of winning it. It's a conversation that Mamelodi Sundowns have every season. And every time when they get knocked out, within the semi-final, you would swear that they failed. That's how much this Champions League means to them. And for them to get it to the stage, they know that they have to deliver.
Although, Teko, they are playing against a unknown factor, if I can call it that.
Yeah.
They played Pyramids before. The first leg was a goalless draw here at home, and then Sundowns won it away. But this has been a surprise package.
Yeah.
And I mean, from your perspective, how dangerous is Pyramid side, especially what they did to Orlando Pirates?
Yeah, I mean, the danger of Pyramid is because they are first-timers into the final. And when you're first time into the final, it reminds us as Mamelodi Sundowns how we were in 2016 as first-timers in the final. So a very surprise package, anything can happen. And that then forces Coach Cardoso now to prepare very well for the team. But then again, I think maybe also with the fatigue that Pyramids have in between the games that they have, maybe that might be an advantage as well for Mamelodi Sundowns. But the best thing that Mamelodi Sundowns can do is make sure that you win your first game, which is at home. Take that home ground advantage, because you never know what's going to happen in Egypt.
And that unknown factor of Pyramids, I mean, how much of a role do you think it will play? I think about a week or so back, I spoke to a journalist from Egypt who was saying that, look, they don't even have supporters. I'm sure they have 57 supporters, you know, also in Egypt. But they are called the Manchester City of Egypt because this is a team that suddenly rose from nowhere, had some good financial backing, and they're starting to win things. They're making it to the final. They're challenging for the league title. So clearly not a side to be taken lightly.
Of course, it's not a side to be taken lightly, even though knowing the difficulties of getting into the final. And the surprise also Al Ahly, which are the dominant team in this cup competition. So all eyes will be there to see if Pyramids can actually do it. But the disadvantage that Mamelodi Sundowns has, which at times you can turn it to advantage, going in as favourite because you've been in this space for so long, and yet again you're expected to win. But I think the surprising factor of Pyramids is all the investment that we've been doing for the past years, now it's showing off. So we've got nothing to lose because everybody's expecting you to lose anyway in the final, and that can be a dangerous team. But we're playing at home, so the final. The tricky part about the final is always the second leg of the game. But also you're playing at home. Pyramids are coming in. They're not going to open up. You know how defensive they're going to be. So make use.
They're
of
going to try everything not to concede.
Of course,
that's all they will try to do.
That's how the first legs of the final are always tight. The second leg are the one that opens because somebody's chasing the lead. And I think this is an advantage that Mamelodi Sundowns has. And also maybe the defining factor is Coach Cardoso, who was there last season. It's still fresh in his mind. And I'm sure he can remind the players as to how they should feel, because there's only 3 players at Mamelodi Sundowns that are still there, that were there in 2016. Tembazwane, Tapelo, and Onyango. So the rest are new into the space. So, but also when the nerves are kicking in, you can actually rely possibly on the national team players that were participating in AFCON that have done so well. So it's for us, it's one of those situations where we believe that we do have the experience, we believe that we do have the quality, but at the end of the day, we have to see how Coach Cardoso wants to approach the game in terms of the lineup.
Is there an advantage, Teko, of playing the first leg at home? Or does it really matter? Because there's always been that whole aspect of, if you play at home and then you don't concede, you take a 2-0 lead, then you are comfortable. Is there really an advantage in playing home first?
I think Mamelodi Sundowns possibly would love to play
the second
leg at home.
Yes.
And because you can always approach the game very differently.
You know what to expect.
Exactly. But it's here. And what we can take solace from this is because in 2016 it was the same thing. We played the first final here. We had to go back in Egypt actually try and defend, the lead that we had in the first leg. So everything is lining up for Mamelodi Sundowns. But for you to have an advantage, you need to be able to score goals. And Mamelodi Sundowns of late, they've been scoring goals. So I think that's the confidence that we're going into the game. And Pyramids also knows that the difference between Orlando Pirates and Sundowns uses the ball very well. And yes, the Pirates was a very good team, but Sundowns uses the ball. They've got so many creative players. And it's going to be a different game for Pyramids.
Hey, but those guys from Pyramids, they don't miss, eh?
Yeah, they don't. But
very dangerous bunch.
But the thing is, it's Champions League final.
Yeah.
And with Champions League final comes of games of this magnitude. Sometimes even the best players get nervous on those games. So you can just imagine on the team that is coming into South Africa with no support, coming in here to play the first leg, and the stadium is sold out, and Mamelodi Sundowns fans will be dominating. So we can take advantage of so many things that are happening here at Loftus Stadium.
What would you say, Teko, has been key for Mamelodi Sundowns to get this far? We've spoken about the Cardoso factor, having a coach that knows what it's like to get to the final. But what would you say from your vantage point has been the key to this Cardoso Mamelodi Sundowns since he took over after 7 games in the league?
I would say the struggle of Mamelodi Sundowns qualifying from a group stage to the knockout phases. You look at every time when Mamelodi Sundowns get knocked out in the semi-finals, it's because they qualify very well within the group stage. You know, they win all their games, just like how Paris did. And in that also now you have this confidence going forward, saying you're thinking that you're going to win. And Champions League actually starts from the knockout phase. And look at how we qualified, you know, last game, you know, very difficult game. And I think Coach Cardoso also, what he did as well is changing a little bit of how Sundowns team should play. Yes, it's a ball-playing team, but at times you need to be lethal, you need to be, you know, threatening inside the box. And look at the number of goals that Mamelodi Sundowns has scored. Look at the people that actually spread on in terms of those scoring goals. And that's something that we haven't had. The previous coaches, it was Peter Shalulile, maybe high with the numbers, the rest is 4 and 2. Now they're spreading all the goals, and I think that's the key, so that we can have different threats on the game. And I credit that to Coach Cardoso, even though if you look at also in the beginning of the season, how Mamelodi Sundowns were struggling. So this season, in the beginning, it was the most frustrating season for Sundowns, because they're used to starting very well, they're used to winning games, and it was very frustrating. That's why Coach Cardoso, when he came on, luckily came in, won 7 games and started changing things. So that's why Mamelodi Sundowns are where they are.
Who do you think then will be the key players for Mamelodi Sundowns tomorrow specifically? Because the game tomorrow, as we say, you win your home game, you don't concede, then you go into the second leg with a slight advantage.
I strongly believe the game tomorrow it's either Tembazwana or Ribeiro's game. If you look at Ribeiro within the CAF space, he hasn't been really performing very well. I think he's overthinking things. Now it's the final, and we know when he's on song, when he wants to play, he's unstoppable. And with Tembazwane as well coming back from an injury, we understand as well as to the influence that he has within the team. So I think those 2 players, you know, are the key players that will actually make Mamelodi Sundowns to win.
Let's end with the support. The game was sold out 3 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
Clearly, the South African fans, the Mamelodi Sundowns fans, 57 of them, as many are saying, want to fill up that Loftus first stadium. How important is that from a player's perspective to have Kabuyelo supporting and making that noise every time you touch the ball?
Look, Champions League, it's about the fans. You know, when you go away, you're facing, you know, hostility from the fans, from the opposition fans. And for Mamelodi Sundowns, it's been the case. You look at in the past as well, whenever you're playing semi-final at home, the stadium is always sold out because the interest of playing in CAF Champions League. And we know that it's been eluding Mamelodi Sundowns for so many years. So for them to actually, you know, come in numbers, you know, trying to have, you know, stadium yellow, it's an advantage for Mamelodi Sundowns, and the players know the responsibility that comes with having the sold-out affair for Mamelodi Sundowns fans. So it is important for them to come in numbers as they will. It's important for them to back the players. It's important to sing those songs. And it's important for the players as well to showcase that they're playing beautiful football and they win.
Very briefly, how confident are you that Sundowns have what it takes?
From a scale of 1 to 10, 10.
10. Okay. Well, that's a brilliant one. Teko Modise, thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. Tolofelo Teko Modise, former Mamelodi Sundowns player, and also a special guest here in the CAF Champions League trophy. The first time it was unveiled just yesterday, so it's on a tour, and it will be given to whoever wins between Mamelodi Sundowns and Pyramids FC. All right, we pack it here for now as far as sport is concerned. We do, though, have another update come your way in the next hour. Let's take it back to Arabile.